The group is still the same. I think that, that loss is not who we are. It's not what we represent. It's not what we come in and work hard for every day. We know we've been disappointed with those type of losses, 30-point losses. Looks like no effort. But this team has been going through a lot that a lot of people don't see. And the testament to this group, the toughness that we've put out every day, in those situations really hasn't come forth in the game, in the result. But the process is the same. We come in every day, we work hard, we refocus on what we have to do, and we're just gonna, really adjust and try to make the most of those adjustments in the sense of what we're already doing. It's going to be a little bit of a different personnel look, but for us, it's just about doing the same things, playing with more energy, and really playing harder for this city. 30-point losses, just losing, giving games away at home, with little simple mistakes and unforced errors on our end just really isn't acceptable. And we know that, and it's something that we're trying to correct every day.
Obviously, as you alluded to, there's been a few obviously hefty losses so
Yeah.
far this season. What are you guys trying to kind of do to correct that and make these games closer at the very least?
Yeah, what's interesting is, in the game of basketball, I've been playing since I was 6 years old. And losing by 30 is never great, especially on a professional level. That's a hard thing to swallow, but it does happen. And one of the things that I will say is that it's early in the season. This is a group that is very new with each other. A lot of these teams that we play, they've been together for more than a year. They know the system, they know the coaches, they've been in this league. A lot of guys on this team are fresh, new, and it's one of those things where we're really just kind of getting guys together. And, we've had our moments, we've shown flashes where we can be really good, and it's just about us being more consistent in that, and that's our job. That's really on us. So the adjustment is just for us to have the mindset of doing the simple things and being more efficient. And the reality is, too, we've been in a shooting slump. We haven't made shots that we know that we can make, but we also have to create easier shots for each other that we know that we can make high percentage-wise.
Obviously, you're a shooter yourself, obviously, and you
Yeah.
try and do that. When it comes to a slump, is it just about shooting your way out of it? Is there something that you do differently in preparation? How do you kind of get yourself on the right track there?
Yeah, for an average fan, someone watching, when they see you shoot a shot that they know you can make, they think that you should make it every time or whatever. But it's really about shot selection in basketball. When you can get more efficient looks that you're more efficient in, you'll shoot a better percentage. And the thing about it is we haven't created enough for each other, and that's something that we're addressing, where we're getting better looks for each other. Rain is a great shooter. That's why he's on this team. That's why we signed him. And we're not getting him great looks. Some of the looks that he's had, that's not what he's normally comfortable with, and that's our fault as teammates. And that's just us being vulnerable, and that's stuff that we're looking at and trying to get him better looks. For myself personally, I'm not worried about myself. I'm going to be fine. I hear the talk about imports this, imports that. I'm a basketball player. I'm a very tough-minded player. I'll get better every game. I had a bad game. It happens. I was dealing with a lot off the floor with family and things like that. But other than that, for me, that's not who I am. That's not what I come out and bring to this team or produce every game. So it's an easy adjustment for me. But for a team, it's really about the consistency and the work that we put in practice, understanding what that looks like, and really just honing in on those details in the game.
The other thing that Forde pointed to in the post-match were turnovers. What's gone into addressing that, or is that just a matter of a new team having to get used to one another's movements on the court?
That's a part of it, but it's more so just understanding how to make it easy on each other. Spacing is very important, understanding when to cut, timing of cuts, and also the timing of letting someone work a shot out. If Jack's in the post, not to cut on top of him and things like that. So that comes with not being with each other and having the experience, but at the same time, we're professionals. There's no excuse for that. So that's the things that we're adjusting, and it's because we're professionals, we can do that on the fly. But the result of the losses that we've had, that's not who we are. That's not what we want to put out every game, and that's not the product that we want to present as the Taipans this year.
How much of the shooting issue, I guess, flows into confidence? And once things haven't worked out well, does it become a recurring problem mentally?
Well, if it's a confidence issue, I don't think we'll be in this league. I don't think confidence plays a role in shooting slumps. Like I said, it's more so shot selection. I mean, if you go back and watch the game, we're not getting a lot of open looks for ourselves, and that's on us on the offense and not running the offense right, not making the right passes, making the right reads. And it's just because of on the fly, in the game reads. When you watch film, it's easier to see who was open and who wasn't open, but when you're in the game and you're on the fly and things are going the way they're going, everybody wants to do something to make the team better. Everyone wants to do something to make an impact. So in those moments, we got to realize, hey, this is our bread and butter. This is what we go to. This is what we're successful at, and just keep doing that. And that's one of the things that we're going to adjust. And I'm excited to play this weekend. I think that it'll show this weekend the adjustments that we made and just the energy that we're going to play with.
And how have you found the standard of the league now that you've been here a little longer?
It's really cool. Like I said, it's a lot like the NBA. You know, the rules are a lot different. How they call the game is a lot different. But just from what I understand, you know, it's a lot of guys in this league that have been in this league, been playing in this league, veterans in this league, and they're used to how things go in this league. And for us, and for myself, it has been an adjustment. But I really love the way that the league is going, and I love the way the competition has been. So I'm excited to keep improving it, and that's all I can do.
Will you watch the 36ers tonight?
Yeah, definitely watching tonight. That's part of the scout of playing them this weekend, but also just kind of more so looking at the game that we played last time and trying to make the adjustments on the mistakes that we made in the last game.
Obviously, you are seeing them again on Saturday. You have played them before. What are you kind of taking into this game this time? We don't want to lose again.
Really, it's just about it's a new game. You know, we played them before, same team, played them before. Other teams have played them in different ways, different schemes. For us, it's just about really sticking to what we are, who we are, and our identity, and doing more of it. I think that there's times where we kind of lack just the sense of, you know, urgency and the sense of doing more of what our bread and butter is. And Forde's been on us about that, and it's just for us to go out and execute. I mean, that's what we get paid to do.
Obviously, Bryce had an awesome game and has been great at the start of this whole season and previously. But how do we kind of shut him down? Obviously, he's a good point scorer.
Yeah, a guy like Bryce, you know, even coming from the NBA, when you have guys like that are great shot makers, there's no such thing as shutting them down because they're going to always get their shots. They're going to always get their looks. It's just about really making it hard on the others and making his looks even harder and tougher and just kind of slowing them down on the offensive end. He's a great player, 5-time MVP. He showed that in the last game, and it's just for us to make the adjustments to be able to limit those opportunities and second chance points that really hurt us on that end. That really separated the score in the game. I mean, everything else in the game, rebounding, turnovers, it kind of was even. Just the second chance points and the fouls and stuff is what kind of really separated us in that game. So just cleaning up on defense, the fouling, especially rebounding this weekend, and really just making it more tough on defense.
I'll open up. So Jack's on the injury list. Jack sustained a wrist injury shortly after round 2. Became a little bit symptomatic last week, and so we sent him for an MRI, which obviously cleared him of a break. We wanted to try and take a conservative approach of how we manage his wrist, but for the most part, he's wrist in a splint, and so it's a bit like, I guess, you know, you're taking away his best aspect, which is his ability to train and shoot, and so knowing what the timeline looks like and we want to get him back on court, what we're going to do now is take more of a conservative approach in resting him and getting that wrist right, knowing we're still early in the season, so it shuffles the deck a little bit, but you know, it's an important thing that we want to try and manage his wrist and get him back on the court as soon as possible.
Do you know that timeline?
Well, again, like from the worst case scenario is 4 weeks, but that's if it's me. I think Jack's ability to heal is probably at a better rate than me. We've done things in the past similar. Keanu and Taj were 2 examples where they both had a wrist injury where it was splintered. You basically wear the splint 24/7, you take it off for game days. The difference was they were both on their non-shooting hand, and games are very different, whereas with Jack, it is his shooting hand. And, you know, and again, when all you're restricted to do is things around the paint and your left hand, you know, it takes away what one of his best abilities is. So we tried to see how that looked over the weekend, but obviously based off the results and what we want to get out of Jack, it's best just we get him to recover from that. So 4 weeks, but right now we're sort of playing it as in week to week, so definitely not for this round, with the idea we'll reevaluate it next week. But MRI showed no further damage or anything like that. It's just a matter of not trying to aggravate it.
What's the best case scenario? Sorry.
You go.
What's the best case scenario?
I don't know, it'll be week to week, like clairvoyant.
You mentioned shuffling the deck. What's the kind of key emphasis going to be as far as how you fill that void that Jack obviously leaves in the lineup?
Yeah, so we moved Sko up to the 4 because again, you know, we've done a few things differently with Sko. Nursing his nagging complaints with his ankle primarily, which for the most part's recovered really well. So we'll move him to the 4. We'll get a bit more opportunity with KG at the 5. knowing that, again, especially with some of the coverages we're going to be facing, especially in the next 2 games, it's going to open up some opportunities for KG to free up. Right now we're playing a little bit tight. We're not shooting the ball very well. So, with those guys playing more 4-5, it should provide them a little bit more opportunities to get some looks.
Obviously, you've already been missing Sam so far this season, and now obviously Jack, obviously not the same position, but similar kind of roles in both kind of forwards. Is that a concern for you at all as to how you feel that kind of gap for both those players now leaving the lineup?
Oh, it's frustrating because it's our 2 marquee locals. We designed it with the idea that Wardenberg and Jack were going to take the lion's share of scoring and minutes played. So there's nothing we can do about it. And so now you sort of have to shuffle the deck and adjust. And knowing that we've still got, again, like Marcus playing some great basketball, if we bring him off the bench, maybe we can close out the game with him just because he's still finding himself a little bit of foul trouble. KG gets more of an opportunity, Al gets more of an opportunity. And it's important that we've got guys right now shooting below their career average. So we need to get more production out of everybody. And if we turn that corner and then we have Jack and Wardenberg return into the lineup, we're having everybody playing good basketball at the right time of the year. It's just important. We don't want to fall too far behind early on.
So you mentioned the shooting slump. Obviously, when you take away someone that has the gravity of Jack, that can obviously present troubles as far as shooting the ball. Are you concerned about, you're concerned about that, and then how are you going to kind of counteract that, hopefully?
No, I don't. Again, you just look for it in different angles.
Obviously, with Jack out and a bit of a change shuffle with the starting 5, you're kind of happy with some of your bench players and how they've been playing. Obviously, Al had 2 awesome games over the weekend. You're kind of happy with him and
yep.
how he's slot in?
Yeah, Al's been great. So we'll move him obviously to the 3 spot. And again, his natural position is a slasher, a rebounder, and he's been great defensively. He can defend multiple positions, so he'll get rewarded with that. But yeah, no, the reality is we've got everybody shooting down at the moment. So, you just got to shoot yourself out of it and take those looks when they're presented to you and back yourself.
Just one on Jack. I think he's missed like 1 game in his entire NBL career. So how's he coping with the news and the process of sitting on the bench for maybe a period of time?
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest hurdle was, and I guess in hindsight when we look at it, when we knew we were cleared of a bone break, I think we were all excited to keep Jack out there. But the reality is he's playing hurt, and so he wants to play. He knows he can provide 100% effort for what he can, but he's restricted. So it's my call to sit him out, to get him right, because we want the best version of Jack. That's going to be a hurdle that he'll get over. But the good thing with Jack is now he's just focused 100% into his return to play timeline. So again, we're confident that it's not going to take the entire 4 weeks. We'll just take it week to week, and we'll see how he constantly keeps pulling up each day.
We've got Adelaide coming up this week. Obviously, Cotton's obviously been super impressive for them as per usual. How do you kind of approach this game, having already faced them so far once this season?
Yeah, I mean, we've got our scout, and that's what we'll go through today. It's important that, again, when we talk about our points of emphasis and attention to detail, we've got to play that for 40 minutes. We show glimpses of where we look good, and then show glimpses where it doesn't. The reality is, and this is probably a little bit of a reflection of the last game as well, is, we're an emotional team, and, when the highs are high, they look great. The problem is when the lows are low, it compounds, and so it's not a dozen turnovers, 2 dozen turnovers. It's a missed box out, dropping the shoulders, and then giving up the next possession. And what's important is the guys have got to build some resilience to that. We can't ride the roller coaster of emotions that come in a basketball game. So again, the highs will be high, the lows will be low. It's about trying to find that happy medium. So it's important when we face Adelaide this weekend that's probably the main real point of emphasis, is we just got to look into the scout and play at every possession, not base it on how successful we were in the last one.
So do you think that these games are kind of taking a mental toll when they are on the court, and it's not just, as you said, 2 turnovers, it turns into 10 or whatever it is. Is it taking that mental toll, or?
Well, it definitely builds the mental reps, You sort of have to go through the fire to come out the other side, right? And so this is early in the season where, again, we are battling with some injuries. We've got guys that are not shooting at a great clip. You're going to get those same looks. You're the one that has to back yourself to take that shot. We drill it every day with these are the looks we want to get. Guys are making the pass with confidence that the teammate's going to finish it. You got to back yourself to be able to do it. And all you need is 1 or 2 to go through to suddenly shift the momentum back in your favour. The main issue that we're saying with the guys is we just can't get too absorbed with what just happened. You have to play on to that next possession.
And you think Andrew's settling in settling in pretty well now. Obviously, he had a great game on Friday despite the close loss, but he looked pretty good out there.
Yeah, and again, he's one again that is a career 40% shooter that's shooting 24%. So his mental mindset is not one I'm worried about. I know he'll come good, and it's any moment now that he's going to turn the corner and have a game where he puts it on the scoring. And it's probably going to happen soon, knowing now that we do have Jack out. There's going to be a little bit more burden expectation for him to score. So, yeah, it's a funny thing, you know, when you have guys out and your backs are against the wall, your mindset changes a little bit back to that underdog status. And so sometimes when you release the burden of expectation on guys and you just play with a sense of freedom to go and play, it can be a dangerous combination. So, yeah, Drew's one that I'm looking forward to when he starts hitting his averages and performing at the rate I know he can.
Do you think it's going to take as little as one game for something like this to click, and you know once it happens, it'll flow on from there?
Yeah, why not? Who's to say it can't?